The sky above Earth was quiet, almost too quiet. No one noticed the faint hum that rippled across the planet, a sound no human ear could hear. In the darkness of space, the alien fleet hovered, their ships gleaming like shards of frozen light. From millions of kilometers away, they watched Earth and whispered among themselves, calling it fragile, slow, weak. Humanity had always seemed harmless. Small, divided, primitive in their technology compared to the vast civilizations of the galaxy. But today, their judgment was about to become law. In New York, a young woman named Mara stared at the blinking lights of her communication panel. She was a technician in the International Space Network, responsible for monitoring satellites and relaying signals. Suddenly, the monitors flickered and a sharp, alien voice filled the room. It was calm, cold, and unyielding. "People of Earth," it said, "the galaxy has watched your world. We see weakness. We see chaos. And we declare war. Surrender, or be erased." Mara froze. She pressed buttons, trying to trace the origin of the message, but the signal could not be traced. It came from everywhere and nowhere. She ran to tell her supervisor, but the message had already spread. Across the globe, in Tokyo, Lagos, Rio, and Sydney, humans heard the same voice. Governments convened emergency meetings. Scientists scrambled for explanations. Soldiers prepared for the impossible. And ordinary people looked at the sky, wondering if they would survive. At first, disbelief was the strongest reaction. How could a force so vast exist, and why had they chosen Earth? The aliens were said to conquer planets in minutes, wiping out civilizations before they could fight back. But the message continued: the galaxy had judged humanity weak. They did not believe humans could resist. They did not know humans at all. In a small town in France, a boy named Julien ran to his grandmother's side. "Are they going to destroy us?" he asked, fear cracking his voice. His grandmother held his hand tightly, her eyes steady. "They think we are weak," she said. "But humans are not weak when we fight for our home. Remember that." The words echoed across Earth in different languages, in different tones, but the meaning was the same: humanity had a choice. They could tremble and surrender, or they could stand together, even knowing the odds were impossible. And for the first time in history, that choice was shared by every human alive. In Washington, the leaders of the world tried to speak as one voice. The United Nations held an emergency session, broadcast live to billions. President Cade addressed the world with a steady, calm voice, though his hands shook slightly behind the podium. "We have been judged by beings we do not yet understand," he said. "They see us as weak. They are wrong. We are human. We survive. We fight. And together, we will face whatever comes." In the shadow of this moment, ordinary people began to act. In factories and laboratories, engineers worked frantically to repair old satellites, to build defenses, to send messages into space. Farmers and fishermen organized local communities, preparing shelters and supplies. Students used whatever knowledge they had to devise strategies for survival. Every corner of the planet buzzed with quiet determination, a hum of energy that no alien fleet could hear. Humanity was waking, slowly, in ways no one expected. Meanwhile, the alien fleet began its approach. Ships the size of mountains glided silently into the solar system, reflecting sunlight like mirrors. They carried weapons capable of leveling cities from orbit, armies that could overwhelm Earth in hours. From the windows of her apartment, Mara watched a small silver dot growing larger in the sky. It moved with precision and power, but she did not run. She did not hide. Instead, she whispered to herself, "We will not fall." In Moscow, a retired scientist named Anton sat with a notebook and pencil, sketching calculations that could save millions. He had always been ridiculed for his old-fashioned ideas, but now those ideas might be the difference between survival and annihilation. He worked through the night, muttering formulas and strategies, refusing to give up. Around the world, people like Anton, young and old, rich and poor, trained and untrained, did the same. The world was small, yes, but it was alive, and humans were discovering the one thing no alien could predict: their unbreakable will. As the hours passed, news came of the first minor attacks. Satellites were disrupted. Power grids flickered. Communications went dark in some regions. Panic rose, but it was tempered by courage. People were ready, not with armies or space fleets, but with knowledge, teamwork, and the determination to survive. Humanity, fragile as it seemed, began to show teeth. Late at night, Mara climbed to the roof of her building. The city below was quiet, but the stars above were alive with shapes she could not comprehend. She felt fear, yes, but also a strange exhilaration. The aliens thought humans were weak. They thought humans would fall in days. They had not met people like Julian, like Anton, like every family, every engineer, every teacher who refused to give up. They had not seen humans as humans truly were. Across the planet, the hum of preparation continued. In small towns and great cities, humans gathered, shared knowledge, trained, and fortified. Fear was there, but it was mixed with something stronger, hope. And for the first time in history, humans felt a unity they had never known. They were not just fighting for their countries, or their governments, or their leaders. They were fighting for each other. They were fighting for the right to exist in a galaxy that had already decided they were weak. And as the first alien scouts entered the atmosphere, Earth was ready, not with the strength the galaxy expected, but with the spirit the galaxy could not measure. Humans were about to show the stars what it meant to survive, what it meant to fight for home, and what it meant to be human. For the first time, the galaxy would see that weakness was not a human trait. Humanity was something else entirely. Mara clenched her fists and looked at the horizon. "We are not weak," she whispered. "They will learn soon enough." The first shadow of the alien ships fell over the city, and Earth held its breath. The morning sky burned with a strange light. Across the globe, people looked up in fear and awe. Alien ships, huge and silver, filled the horizon. They moved like living shadows, perfectly silent yet terrifying. Cities that had once seemed safe now felt fragile under the weight of the approaching fleet. Humanity's fear was heavy, but so was a new determination. They had been judged weak, and they would not prove it true. In London, a young pilot named Theo ran toward the hangar where his small fleet of jets waited. They were outdated, built for training, not war. He knew they could not match the alien ships in strength or firepower. Yet, he felt no hesitation. "We have to try," he told his squad, his voice firm. "Even if it seems impossible, we fight. We survive." The other pilots nodded, understanding that survival was more than strength, it was heart, courage, and refusal to surrender. The aliens struck first. Beams of bright light cut across the sky, leveling skyscrapers and creating explosions that shook entire cities. Communication networks went dark. Panic rippled through the streets. Governments tried to respond, but their weapons were no match. Tanks fired at empty air. Missiles dissolved into nothing. It seemed as if the galaxy's judgment had been right. Humanity was powerless. Yet in the chaos, something remarkable happened. Civilians refused to run blindly. In Paris, engineers took control of communication towers that had been knocked out. They rerouted signals, keeping lines open for rescue teams and soldiers. In Mumbai, volunteers helped firefighters guide people from burning buildings. In Sao Paulo, scientists worked frantically to fix radar systems. Every small act of resistance slowed the invasion, a tiny but growing shield of determination. On the battlefield, Theo and his pilots flew with everything they had. They dodged beams and tried to strike back with guns and missiles that should have been useless. Amazingly, their maneuvers worked more than they should. The aliens, used to civilizations that surrendered, did not expect creativity or courage in the face of overwhelming odds. Every human action, no matter how small, confused their strategy. In New York, Mara watched the destruction from her rooftop. The streets were burning, but she saw something that gave her hope. People were helping each other. Soldiers and civilians moved together, carrying the wounded, sharing supplies, guiding the lost. Humans fought not because they were trained, not because they were strong, but because they had to. Every rescue, every act of bravery, became a spark in the darkness. Meanwhile, alien commanders observed the chaos and grew frustrated. Their plans had assumed weakness, submission, surrender. They did not account for humans who thought differently. Humans did not flee in terror. Humans adapted. Humans learned quickly, using small mistakes to their advantage. The fleet's efficiency faltered, and they began to underestimate the resilience of the species they had thought fragile. In a small village in Kenya, a farmer named Omori organized local defenses. He and his neighbors used farming equipment, vehicles, and improvised barriers to slow the alien land forces. Though they could not stop the technology, they could confuse it. They could force mistakes. They could buy time. Each moment of resistance, though small, mattered. Humanity had discovered that survival was not about power, it was about will and cleverness. In space, Theo and his squad continued to fight. Jets dodged enormous alien craft, weaving through beams that could vaporize a building in seconds. Theo felt fear, yes, but he felt something stronger, focus. He relied on instinct, on quick thinking, and on the trust of those around him. One by one, they managed to damage smaller alien ships. Not enough to win, but enough to surprise their enemies. They were learning, adapting, and surviving where no one thought it possible. Even as cities burned and satellites fell, humans began to communicate across the globe in new ways. Messages were passed by radio, by networks that bypassed the aliens' interference. Humans coordinated evacuations, defenses, and rescues with an efficiency the aliens had not predicted. Across continents, ordinary people became warriors of survival, not through technology, but through cooperation, courage, and the refusal to accept defeat. At night, the sky was a battlefield. Explosions lit the horizon like fireflies in the dark. Theo returned from his latest sortie, exhausted but alive. He saw families helping each other, soldiers protecting civilians, scientists running tests to find new ways to fight back. Humans were weak alone, but together, they became something the aliens could not understand, a force born from determination and unity. Mara spoke into her transmitter, sending a message to other survivors. We are still here. We fight. We survive. Keep moving. Keep helping. Keep believing. Her words spread, simple but strong. Humans were finding their rhythm in the chaos. Fear remained, but courage had grown faster. The alien fleet realized something that no one expected. Earth was not collapsing. It was resisting. The humans were unpredictable. They did not follow patterns the invaders could exploit. Every act of defiance, every small victory, confused their strategies and slowed the invasion. Earth had become alive, unpredictable, and unstoppable in a way the galaxy had never imagined. By the end of the first day, the damage was severe. Cities were scarred, communication networks faltered, and thousands had died. Yet, the human spirit had not broken. Mara, Theo, Amori, and millions like them understood the truth. Power was not only in weapons. Power was in heart, in will, in refusal to give up. The galaxy had assumed humanity was weak, and in that assumption, it had underestimated the one thing humans had in abundance: endurance. As darkness fell across the continents, the alien fleet hovered, confused and frustrated. They had expected submission. They had expected Earth to fall within hours. Instead, they faced a species that refused to bow, a species that learned fast, adapted faster, and fought not for conquest, but for survival. From rooftops, streets, and forests, humans looked up at the massive shapes in the sky. Fear was still there, but it was tempered by resolve. Humanity was not defeated. Humanity was learning, growing, and surviving. The invasion that should have ended everything had only begun to awaken the world to a truth the galaxy would soon understand. Humans fight differently. Humans fight together. And humans do not surrender. Theo wiped the sweat from his brow and looked at the horizon filled with alien ships. He clenched his fists. We are still here, he whispered. And we will fight until the end. The first day of the invasion ended, but Earth had survived. And in that survival, humanity found a strength the galaxy had never predicted. A strength not of technology, but of spirit. The sky over Earth was filled with strange shapes and lights, but humans no longer watched in fear alone. They had learned something the galaxy had not studied. They were not powerless. They were unpredictable. The alien fleet had expected quick victories, but Earth had already proven that survival was more than strength. It was cleverness, courage, and a willingness to adapt. In Tokyo, a scientist named Hannah worked with a team of engineers in a hidden laboratory beneath the city. They were old satellites, long forgotten by humanity, and new technology scavenged from wrecked alien probes. Hannah's hands flew over the controls as she adjusted algorithms that could track alien movement and predict attacks. They study patterns, she said. We break them. We change them. The team nodded, understanding that humans had a secret advantage the galaxy could not measure: ingenuity. In Rio, a young inventor named Lewis had built devices from scraps that could jam alien signals. His machines were small and fragile, but they worked in unexpected ways. When alien drones tried to scan the city, the devices created chaos in their systems. The invaders did not know how humans could improvise. They had never faced a species that could learn and change faster than their technology could track. Meanwhile, Theo and his pilots trained in secret at night. Their jets were outdated, but their tactics were not. They learned to anticipate alien maneuvers, to dodge attacks that should have destroyed them, and to strike weak points that even advanced sensors could not detect. Each sortie made them stronger, smarter. Every human pilot who returned shared what they learned. The aliens assumed humans were slow and fragile, but they were forgetting one truth: humans adapt. In a small village in Canada, Amira, a farmer, organized a group of local volunteers to study alien landing patterns. They mapped every movement, every timing, every weakness. Using simple tools, they created warning systems that alerted nearby towns. Civilians and soldiers worked together, learning from one another. Humans had no central command like the aliens, but that was exactly what made them hard to predict. They were not a machine. They were alive. On the battlefield, strange new events began to happen. Alien attacks, once precise, began to fail. Ships collided, drones malfunctioned, and some weapons misfired. The invaders could not understand why. Humans were too creative, too chaotic, too alive to be controlled by their assumptions. Every small mistake by the aliens became an opportunity for survival. Every failed attack became a lesson for humans. Mara worked tirelessly in New York to connect the efforts of scientists, engineers, and volunteers around the globe. She sent messages across networks that had survived the first days of the invasion. Humans shared discoveries, devices, and strategies. If one city found a way to slow an alien ship, the information spread instantly. If one engineer discovered a weakness in a drone, the pattern was shared. The galaxy had never encountered a species that could adapt collectively in real time. Even ordinary humans began to join the effort. Children sent messages to alert rescuers, nurses improvised treatments for injuries caused by alien weapons, and drivers guided supplies to areas that had lost communication. Every small action mattered. Every act of intelligence, courage, or quick thinking added to a hidden force no alien had calculated. Earth was becoming something the invaders could not study, a living, learning, adapting world. In Moscow, Anton, the retired scientist, discovered something remarkable. By combining human intuition with alien technology, he could create predictive simulations that the invaders could not foresee. Simple patterns in human behavior, like the way people helped each other or organized, created outcomes that no machine could calculate. Humans had learned the secret of improvisation, cooperation, and resilience, and the aliens were blind to it. At night, the sky over the oceans was filled with beams of light and explosions, but Earth had become clever. Small groups of humans guided alien attacks into traps, leading ships into areas where nature itself created hazards. Mountains, oceans, and forests became allies. Even simple camouflage or misdirection worked better than many weapons. The galaxy had studied worlds, civilizations, and armies, but it had never faced humans who could turn everything, every weakness, every limitation, into a weapon. Theo's squadron took part in a daring mission that evening. They flew low through canyons and forests, evading detection, striking at supply lines, and returning safely. Each mission was a small victory, a proof that humans could fight in ways the invaders could not anticipate. Every pilot who returned shared new tactics. Every town that survived shared new strategies. Every person who acted, no matter how small, added to a collective knowledge the galaxy had not studied. Even alien leaders began to notice. Reports came in that humans were learning faster than their calculations allowed. They could not predict how humans would act, how humans would survive, or how humans would strike back. Their assumption that humans were weak had blinded them to the one thing stronger than any weapon, the human mind. It was a mind that could improvise, create, and endure against overwhelming odds. Across Earth, ordinary people began to understand the power they held. Fear was still present, but it was mixed with confidence. Each successful resistance, each clever maneuver, each act of courage reinforced the idea that humans had something no technology could destroy. Mara looked out at the skyline of New York, seeing smoke and fire, but also light and life. Humanity had discovered its secret. They were strong not because they had the biggest weapons, but because they could learn, adapt, and act together. In a hidden room in Paris, Hannah's team finished a device that could disrupt the alien fleet's communications in a small area. It was fragile and simple, but its effect was massive. For the first time, alien attacks began to falter significantly. Their weapons misfired, drones collided, and small victories became visible to humans everywhere. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. It had studied cities, weapons, and armies, but it had not studied the human heart, mind, or will. At night, the humans of Earth looked up at the stars and whispered the truth to themselves. The galaxy may have judged them weak, but the humans now knew their secret. They were alive, they were clever, and they could learn faster than any alien calculation. Humanity was no longer fragile. Humanity was dangerous. Not because of strength, but because of unpredictability. Theo flew once more over the horizon, watching the alien fleet stumble. Mara monitored the networks, sending information where it was needed most. Hannah and her team smiled as their device worked, slowing the invaders. Amira guided her people through hidden paths, avoiding destruction. Every human action, every act of intelligence, became a small victory in the war for survival. The galaxy had never studied this secret, and it had never understood it. Humans were alive in a way no machine could calculate, in a way no plan could predict. And Earth, thought powerless, was becoming the most dangerous planet the invaders had ever faced. As the first faint light of dawn touched the horizon, Mara whispered, "They think they know us. They have no idea what humans can do." The sky burned with light as alien ships hovered over Earth, but this time, humans were ready. The first strike had shown them how weak the invaders thought they were. The second had taught them how to survive. Now, humanity was about to strike back, not with hope alone, but with planning, courage, and ingenuity. The galaxy had never seen humans like this. In London, Theo prepared his squadron for a new mission. The jets were patched, old missiles upgraded, and pilots trained like never before. He looked at his team, faces tense but determined. "We do not fight like them," he said. "We fight like humans. We survive, we adapt, we strike where they least expect. Today, we fight back." Every pilot nodded. Fear was there, but it was tempered with focus. They were not just resisting anymore, they were attacking. Meanwhile, Mara coordinated the world's communication networks from New York. Every small victory, every trap, every observation was shared instantly. Cities that had been damaged now became laboratories of defense. Scientists, engineers, and ordinary citizens worked together, building devices to slow alien movements, reroute weapons, and protect civilians. Every invention, no matter how small, became a weapon against the invasion. In Tokyo, Hannah's team had completed a device that could temporarily scramble the senses of alien ships. Simple and fragile, it could still blind a drone or create chaos in a formation. The first test was a success. As drones passed over the city, their signals twisted and failed, leaving them vulnerable to human attacks. The galaxy had never seen such unpredictable resistance. The humans did not follow rules. They did not act like machines. They acted like life itself. On the ground, in the deserts of Australia, Omori and her volunteers had set traps for alien troops that had landed. Simple but clever, they used terrain, camouflage, and misdirection. Alien soldiers, confident in their superiority, walked into traps repeatedly. Each small victory slowed the enemy and gave humans more confidence. Survival was no longer enough. Humans wanted to take the fight to their invaders. The first counterattack began at dawn. Jets and ships coordinated attacks on alien supply lines. Small teams guided alien forces into ambushes, striking with improvised weapons and technology patched from scavenged alien craft. For the first time, humans had forced the aliens to retreat in some areas. It was not total victory, but it was proof that Earth could fight back. Theo led his squadron over the Pacific, targeting alien command drones. They dove through storms, dodged beams of light, and struck precisely at weak points. Every maneuver was learned from mistakes and observations of the enemy. One drone fell, its pieces crashing into the ocean. Theo realized that humans were learning faster than the aliens expected. Every attack made them smarter, faster, and more dangerous. In Paris, Hannah's device caused a chain reaction among alien ships. Signals jammed, formation broke, and confusion spread. The aliens began to lose coordination. Mara transmitted instructions to teams in other cities. Humans had begun to fight as one organism, a living network of intelligence, creativity, and courage. The galaxy had assumed weakness, but what they faced was something they could not calculate. Across continents, ordinary humans became warriors. Civilians guided soldiers, repaired equipment, transported supplies, and rescued the injured. Children sent messages, women and men coordinated towns, farmers led teams to block alien movements. Every act, no matter how small, became a part of a larger strategy. Humans were turning their planet into a shield and a weapon at the same time. Even alien leaders grew uneasy. They had planned for quick victories, surrender, or destruction. Instead, they found themselves trapped in chaos. Humans did not act predictably. Humans adapted faster than they could analyze. Every failed attack was a lesson learned for humans, and every lesson was another step toward victory. By nightfall, humans had regained some control of key cities. Alien fleets, once confident, now moved cautiously. They expected surrender, but they found resistance and retaliation. Mara watched reports from Tokyo, London, and Rio, and she smiled. Humanity had taken the first steps in turning defense into offense. Fear remained, but courage burned brighter. Humanity had discovered that fighting together, thinking fast, and improvising was stronger than any alien technology. Theo returned from his sortie, exhausted but alive. He watched the horizon where alien ships hovered uncertainly. Their confidence was gone. Human ingenuity, determination, and courage had created unexpected losses for them. Cities were damaged, but people were alive, and every survivor added strength to the global effort. Humans were no longer fighting to survive, they were fighting to reclaim their world. In Africa, Amira and her team had discovered a pattern in alien troop movements. Using simple traps, coordinated alerts, and misdirection, they caused confusion and delayed enemy progress. Villages that had been threatened were now resisting successfully. Humans were no longer just reacting, they were dictating the terms of the battle. Across the oceans, Mara, Theo, Hannah, Amori, and millions of others realized the truth. Earth was dangerous not because it had the strongest weapons, but because humans fought as one mind, one heart, and one spirit. Every small act of defiance, every clever maneuver, every risk taken by a human made the planet alive in a way the galaxy had never anticipated. The first true counterattack was over, but its effects were clear. Alien ships hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. Humans had shown them that Earth was not fragile. Humanity had learned, adapted, and struck back with precision, creativity, and courage. The galaxy had underestimated the species it thought weak, and that mistake would not be forgiven. Mara looked at the lights of the recovering city, feeling exhaustion and pride at the same time. Theo cleaned his jet, planning his next sortie. Hannah and her team prepared new devices, testing them for the next day. Amira guided her people through safer paths, ready to strike again. All over Earth, humans were awake, aware, and dangerous. As dawn rose, the alien fleet hovered silently, calculating, confused, and cautious. Earth was no longer a planet to conquer. It was a battlefield where humans controlled the terms, a place where the galaxy had underestimated intelligence, courage, and unity. Theo whispered as he watched the horizon, "They thought we were weak. They were wrong. We strike back, and we will not stop." Earth had fought, Earth had survived, and Earth had struck back. The galaxy had learned its first lesson about humanity. Weakness was an illusion. Determination, courage, and unity were stronger than any weapon. And humanity was just beginning. The sky was quiet now, but it was not peace. It was the calm after a storm, a moment of reckoning. Alien ships hovered at the edge of the atmosphere, their weapons still capable of destruction, but their confidence had been shattered. They had entered Earth expecting surrender, weakness, and easy victory. Instead, they had faced something no calculation could predict: humanity. In New York, Mara walked among the ruins of the city, helping survivors and coordinating rescue efforts. Fires still burned, streets were broken, and the cries of the wounded filled the air. Yet, she felt hope. Humans had survived the impossible. They had fought back against a fleet that should have destroyed them in hours, and they had done it together, using every skill, every idea, every ounce of courage. The galaxy had judged them weak, but humans had taught them otherwise. Theo looked at the horizon from the deck of a rebuilt aircraft carrier. Small alien drones drifted down, damaged and confused. His squadron had survived another sortie, and every day they grew stronger, faster, smarter. He thought about the missions, the traps, the clever maneuvers, and the sacrifices. Humans had done the impossible, not by having the best weapons, but by learning, adapting, and refusing to give up. Across the planet, ordinary humans were extraordinary. Farmers had guided soldiers, students had repaired communication networks, nurses had treated injuries with limited supplies, and children had sent vital messages when adults could not. Every person had played a role, and together, they had become more than a species, they had become a force the galaxy had never understood. In Tokyo, Hannah and her team dismantled their devices after the last wave of alien attacks. They had learned patterns, studied weaknesses, and shared knowledge across the world. The galaxy had assumed technology alone defined power, but humans had shown that cleverness, improvisation, and teamwork were just as strong. Small, simple ideas could cripple advanced fleets when executed by determined people. Alien commanders gathered in orbit, confused and humbled. They had underestimated the humans completely. Their calculations had assumed fragility, predictability, and surrender. Instead, they had found a species capable of improvisation, strategy, and sacrifice beyond anything in their history. They had faced humans who fought for each other, who learned from every mistake, and who refused to bow even when faced with annihilation. In Africa, Amira and her team guided survivors back to safer towns. They had set traps, led alien troops into natural hazards, and protected villages with clever strategies. She realized something important: humans were not strong alone, but together they became unstoppable. Cooperation, courage, and intelligence were the real weapons of Earth. The galaxy had never calculated such a force. The alien fleet began to retreat slowly, not because it could not destroy humans, but because it had learned that humans were dangerous in ways it could not control. The invaders had faced a planet that could adapt faster than it could plan, a species that turned limitations into weapons, and a civilization that fought not for empire, but for survival and for each other. Theo flew one last mission to guide retreating alien ships away from cities. He saw civilians waving flags of peace even as they held weapons. Humans were not cruel conquerors. They were clever, brave, and alive. They had survived through intelligence, courage, and compassion. The galaxy had assumed humans would be another weak world to dominate. They had learned that humans were something else entirely. Mara broadcast a message across the surviving networks of Earth. "The galaxy has judged us weak," she said, her voice calm but firm. "They have seen our courage. They have felt our resistance. They have learned that humans survive, adapt, and strike back when threatened. We are not just Earth. We are humanity. And we will never be underestimated again." In the weeks that followed, humans rebuilt, repaired, and recovered. Cities were scarred, but they stood. Communities that had been torn apart grew closer. Scientists continued to study alien technology, pilots trained for future defense, and ordinary people shared knowledge that made everyone stronger. Earth had survived, but more importantly, humans had learned their own power. Alien emissaries finally made contact, not with weapons, but with words. They offered peace, respect, and a truce. Humanity did not demand conquest or revenge. They had defended their home and taught the galaxy a lesson in the process. Weakness was not measured by size, strength, or technology, it was measured by heart, will, and unity. Humans had shown the galaxy that weakness was a lie, and determination was power. Theo returned to his squadron and smiled as he watched the sunrise. The air smelled of smoke, dust, and renewal. Humans had survived the impossible. They had fought back against a galaxy that believed them powerless. And now, they were stronger, wiser, and united like never before. Hannah looked at the repaired laboratory and the maps of alien tactics they had gathered. "They studied everything," she said softly. "But they never studied the human heart. They never studied how humans fight when everything is against them. That is what they learned. And it will change the galaxy forever." Amira guided children through a field, showing them how to care for animals damaged during the attacks. "We survived," she said quietly. "We fought. And we learned that our strength is in each other." Even in simple acts, humans showed what made them unique. Survival was not enough. They had survived with intelligence, courage, and compassion. The alien fleet withdrew, leaving Earth scarred but unbeaten. The galaxy had learned something crucial: humans were unpredictable, resilient, and dangerous in ways it had never imagined. They had faced destruction and turned fear into strategy, weakness into creativity, and despair into unity. Humanity had become a warning and a lesson for every civilization that might underestimate it in the future. Mara, Theo, Hannah, Amira, and millions of others stood on rooftops, fields, and towers across the world. They looked at the sky, still wary, still cautious, but proud. The galaxy had judged humanity weak, and humanity had taught the stars a lesson they would never forget. Humans were not the strongest by weapons. They were not the fastest or the largest. But they were alive in ways no alien had ever understood. They fought not for glory, but for each other. They adapted faster than thought. They endured more than expected. And they survived when survival seemed impossible. Theo whispered to Mara as they watched the last alien ship disappear. "They think they understand the galaxy now. But they will never understand humans." Mara nodded, her eyes reflecting hope and fire. Humanity had survived the war. Humanity had struck back. Humanity had won, not by conquering, but by being human. The galaxy had learned its greatest lesson: underestimate humans at your own peril. And on Earth, life returned slowly, scars visible but spirits unbroken. Humanity had survived what no one thought possible, and in doing so, they had revealed the secret power of their kind: the courage to endure, the intelligence to adapt, and the unity to survive together. The stars had watched, and the galaxy would never forget. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was unstoppable.